am a resistor. I challenge everything. And as a continuous improvement authority who inspires change and efficiencies in people and processes, I am also the unexpected. So how did I get here? Growing up, I was led to believe that I was not good enough. I was told that I would never amount to anything worth caring about. I was bullied every single day of my life. People would say, "You don't belong here. You're ugly. Die already." So believing the narrative of "you don't matter" was required. Accepting the label of "I'm a loser" was my badge of shame. I resisted everything. And instead of looking at resistance as an opportunity to explore more or to ask questions, the naysayer in me fell further down the rabbit hole. Resistance had a hold on me in the worst way imaginable. How long does it take to change your perspective on resistance? Well, for me, it took a lifetime. So when I heard they were looking for highly selective candidates for this event and discovered that I was selected, I said, "Really? They want me? Are you kidding me?" I'm thinking things can go a little rogue. Well, because one of the common misconceptions in the world is to believe we can change without first resisting it. From racial injustice to economic populism to health mandates, today's current events resemble moments in history where resistance was used as a vehicle for change. Groundbreaking movements that shifted problems into possibilities, perceptions into opportunities, and skepticism into chance, planting seeds of doubt in our minds and physically resetting our thoughts towards the art of the possible, showing us that resistance happens not only when we are trying to prevent something, but when we are trying to do something extraordinary. Prompting the question, is resistance pushing us back or is it pulling us forward? Change resistors. We all know the type. Structured, disciplined, a routine. A naysayer, the outspoken pessimist whose only purpose in life, it appears, is to squash dreams or to crush ideas. I remember I thought I could change the world, one process at a time, until I met him. Now, this wasn't your average resistor. This was Mr. Naysayer, the leader of the naysayer crew. You know, the well-organized international operation of change sucks, it won't work, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He stood about 6'5", muscular, with a prominent tattoo on his right forearm that read, "Whiffum. What's in it for me?" Naysayer was intimidating, but well-respected in the organization. Not only did he push back and resist change, he built barriers to prevent it, and an army to house it. I remember one day I was in the middle of facilitating a continuous improvement workshop when guess who decides to show up? Naysayer. Now, I gotta admit, this was probably one of the best events ever, but things happened the way they happened. Naysayer swung open the door, walked in, looked around, and said, "This change stuff sucks." The class responded with a thunderous cheer, "Yeah!" as if to stick it to the man. Naysayer looked at me and then casually took a seat. I was shocked. And if we could rewind that exact moment in time, you can pinpoint the very second when utter confusion took over and I peered off into the class and said, "Why is this happening?" Throughout the workshop, naysayer kept finding reasons why the new process wouldn't work. Despite constant pleading, no one could convince him to stop resisting. It was brutal. Ideas were kicked to the curb before they even got enough traction. And it became apparent to me that if I could convince naysayer to stop resisting, everyone else would follow. So I started to think, I'm going to have to call in the big guns. It was the only person I knew that can help. My dad. Yeah, I thought, makes sense. Dads, they know everything, right? He can fix this. Well, instead, I opted to reflect on what I learned. When people feel like they are losing control or would no longer be perceived as an expert, they push back. That was the obvious explanation, right? We've been convinced to believe that resisting change is bad. Countless experts confirm this theory by providing strategies that help sway resistance into persuasion, offering their #1 tip for $4.99 on how to manage it, how to overcome it, and how to avoid it just in case we experience it. But what if I told you everything you've learned about resistance was wrong? Imagine if this seemingly oppositional behavior was the spark that enabled breakthrough transformations. Instead of stopping something, resistance was a pause to understand the intent of something, a mental trigger to collect more data, to query the unknown. At this very moment, you are resisting this idea, questioning every aspect, comparing it to a memory that does not exist. So, let's expand the reach. Let's dig a little deeper and reimagine what it means to resist. I'd like to ask for you to cross your arms. Now, cross your arms in the opposite direction. Finally, cross your arms differently than what you did the first and second attempt. And this one could be tricky, so, I know, crossing your arm is tricky. How many of you thought that crossing your arms the second or third time required more thought? You're right. In fact, it is implied that when you cross your arms the first time, that signal came from your hidden brain, the amygdala, a place where routines and habits are stored, memorized, and released. However, crossing your arms the second or third time created a flutter of ideas because this was a new ask with no pre-recorded routine. More information was required in order to move forward. Those thoughts were triggered in a new place called the prefrontal cortex, the thinking, questioning, and reasoning section of our minds, a place where new ideas and new information is received. That hesitation you felt, your initial thoughts and questions, the fumbling of your arms when trying to decide which way or how does that look, that was resistance. I used to think resistance was the killer of ideas. Far too often, great ideas would crumble after hitting a wall of disagreement. I've since learned that resistance takes many forms. To some, it's a refusal to stop something. To others, it's simply the ability to move in a new direction. Resistance can be hidden, organized, individual, or seen. An opposition to change that not only pushes back, but it leans forward to make change possible. Resistance is a gap in understanding, a mental calculation needed in order to question if moving from the current state, a place of comfort, to the future state, the place of of the unknown if it makes sense. I realized the naysayer's pushback wasn't because he didn't want to change, it was because he needed to understand the change before moving forward. With this understanding, I encouraged the naysayer to embrace his resistance and to ask questions with purpose. This re-energized the group. Fresh ideas and opposing views were openly discussed, providing a new way to present a different angle into the content. Every time a question was answered, a new learning was formed. And instead of pushing back, I found the naysayer pulling the change towards him, gradually building enough confidence to move forward into the unknown. So allow me to leave you with a few takeaways. It's easy to invite people in when everyone agrees with you. However, it's more impactful to bring in and listen to people that don't agree with everything you say. We are hardwired to resist because there is a burning curiosity to understand the intent of the message before moving forward. My resistance wasn't because of avoidance or fear, it was because I needed to know. There were so many unanswered questions. I needed to know in order to move forward out of the place of pain. Resistance. It's probably one of the most fundamental tools we can use for sustainable growth because it allows us to move forward into the change at our own pace. So I invite you to rewrite your resistance and discover what is the more you want. Accept resistance as an opportunity to query the unknown, to explore possibilities, and to seek opportunities that inspire and drive new decisions in your life. Nurturing it as a positive motivator instead of a force to fight against will help change your perspective and your lens on how you see and, more importantly, use it, thereby allowing you to let resistance pull you forward instead of pushing you back. Thank you.